Dragon Ball during the early and mid-2000s was in an interesting spot. All the animes have ended, and we wouldn't get Kai till the end of the decade. However, Dragon Ball was still being kept alive thanks to video games and merchandise. One time, Benny in America named Irwin Toys produced a line of 5-inch Dragon Ball action figures during the early 2000s. However, they went out of business before they could finish up their Dragon Ball Z toy line. And that left the license open, to which Jakks Pacific stepped up and decided that they would take the line. However, instead of, doing what Irwin did and only focusing on Dragon Ball Z, Jakks had a different idea in mind. Jakks realized that there were 3 different anime shows based on Dragon Ball, the franchise. So instead of just making one overall toy line for Dragon Ball entirely, they made 3 toy lines based on each of the specific shows. These were released all at the exact same time. Sometimes Waves would even have figures from different shows in it. This was very confusing and sadly did not work out as well as they planned, which is what I am going to cover today in this video. Jakks Pacific acquired all of Irwin's assets when they went bankrupt, and that included access to their molds and even were allowed to re-release some of their figures unaltered, just with new packaging and the Jakks Pacific logo. Examples such as these will not be covered in today's video since I already covered them in my Irwin Toys video and it would be redundant to cover them again. Some exceptions will be made, however. We will begin with the original Dragon Ball show, as I think that's a good place to start. Wave 1 consists of 4 figures, most of which are 2-packs. We got Kid Goku and the Sea Turtle, we got Kid Goku and a Buff Master Roshi, we got General Blue and Kid Krillin, and we also got a pirate robot. Now, these figures are interesting because besides Goku, Roshi, and Krillin, General Blue and Pirate Robot are not big characters in the original Dragon Ball. Especially the pirate robot. Makes me wonder where Bulma is. And speaking of Bulma, that's a big problem with this toy line. There is no girl characters in it besides one exception in the GT line, which is more or less just made out of obligation and will be covered later in the video. Now I wonder why this happened. Were they just confused and they couldn't tell which characters were girls?
You're a girl. Yep, thought so. You're a girl, all right.
Or were their attempts just so hideously bad that they couldn't actually make more than the one they were obligated to make?
Okay, blue hair and big eyes and talks a lot. I'll put this over here. Okay, in the back. This is her.
Well, with that ran out of the way, let's actually start talking with the figures. Let's begin with the Kid Goku and Turtle set. This pack is based off episode 3 of Dragon Ball, where Kid Goku first discovers the turtle that belongs to Master Roshi. Now, comparing the figures to the source episode, the sizes of the turtle were very inconsistent in that episode, but I'd say they did a pretty decent job. The turtle figure itself is actually a repack of the one that came with Master Roshi from the Irwin Toys wave, straight re-released here with 0 differences between them. As for Kid Goku, he does a very good job capturing how he looks during the Pilaf saga with his chubbiness and all. However, the face looks a little weird. It's very blank, which is weird because Kid Goku was very, very expressive and there were so many faces they could have picked from, but they chose this one. As for the figure's articulation, the head swivels, the arms are universal, the elbows bend, the wrists rotate, the waist spins, the legs rotate at an odd angle, the knees bend, the ankle swivel, and the tail rotates. Far better articulation than what Irwin was offering even towards the end of their run. Jakks, I'd say, was a big step up in terms of articulation. But overall, as I said, I'd say this is still pretty good. Kid Goku in the Pilaf Saga outfit looks really nice, and if you have a hard time getting the Figuarts version, which I don't blame you, that thing's pretty expensive nowadays, this is a good option to grab, even if it's a bit smaller. Next, let's talk about the Kid Goku and Master Roshi set. This figure features a slightly different Kid Goku now in his orange outfit. It's just a repaint, but they did actually remove the tail.
My tail's gone, you guys! Where could it have gone? I can't believe it! It's really gone, you guys! I'm sure it was there last night. It just disappeared. Vanished. I don't know. Guess I should wait for it to come back.
Very weird they would omit such an iconic feature of Goku's design, especially in his most iconic outfit from the show. Also strange is that none of these Kid Gokus come with the power pole. But yeah, with all that said, let's move on to the real figure that you're buying the set for, the Master Roshi. I sadly do not own this figure, even though I would love to, but he's very expensive, especially compared to how much the Kid Goku in the set goes for. As for Roshi himself, he does look very nice and captures the buff look that he has in the Pilaf Saga very well. Weird that he's packed with this Goku and not Pilaf Saga Goku, but that's besides the point. The articulation, from what I can tell, is about the same as Kid Goku's, but he has an added thigh swivel due to his longer legs. This is definitely an awesome figure to grab, because Buff Master Roshi does not get much merchandise, especially in his original Dragon Ball look. Moving on to the Kid Krillin General Blue set, starting with Krillin. He looks pretty good, though it is just the Goku body mold with a new head. Though there is one other difference. The left hand is open, while on Goku it's closed in a fist. Still a pretty good figure of Kid Krillin, and does scale well with the nature of it being just a head swap. Included with Krillin is General Blue, who should probably not be near Kid Krillin. If you know, you know. But as for the figure itself, it does capture the look of him when he's shirtless pretty well. This is also the only figure to come with accessories, that being his sword and the communication device that he used to contact the Red Ribbon Army. As for the figure's articulation, it is pretty similar to the Kid Goku I showed, but he does have the thigh swivels that the Master Roshi has because he's taller. This is General Blue's only action figure today, and it's a pretty decent one. I'd say if you can get him for a good price, you should grab one if you're a fan of original Dragon Ball. That just leaves the Pirate Robot left, and what a way to end Wave 1. Pirate Robot, though, is a very obscure character, only appearing in one episode of original Dragon Ball, but it's cool that he has a figure. Figure's articulation is all swivel joints, except for a hinge at the jaw. This is likely just due to the design of the body, but it still works pretty well. And yeah, this is a really great figure. I would highly recommend it, and thankfully he's not too expensive overall. And yeah, that was Wave 1. It's definitely very interesting. I can't wait to see what they'll do with Wave 2. Wave 2 doesn't actually exist.
No, don't go away.
It is indeed very sad that Wave 2 never came out, thus canceling the only Dragon Ball toy line to ever hit North America. But let's take a look at what those figures would have been. The listing lists 4 figures again. We got Android 8 with a tiny Goku, a little Goku, a Red Ribbon Robot, and Yamcha and Puar. Let's start with the first one and work our way down. Android 8 is pretty obvious, as he's a character that exists during the Red Ribbon portion of the Dragon Ball story. However, the figure prototype that we do have access to shows him in a slightly different color outfit, and that is because it is instead based not on the anime but the film Dragon Ball Path to Power. As such, speculating the little Goku he was supposed to come with, we could assume it's going to be the Path to Power Goku, but that's just his GT design with a lighter skin tone. And while Jakks would likely reuse that figure, I like to imagine they would have instead used Snow Goku from that portion of the Red Ribbon Army saga, as it would have been more unique, but who knows. Speaking of little Goku, the next figure in the listing was a little Goku. Now this could be anything. Any outfit he had. However, this is the only one that doesn't have any other characters included with it, so this might have just been normal Kid Goku with his powerful and Nimbus finally. Personally, I would have been upset either way that this was cancelled, because it was a Kid Goku figure and we just need more of those in the world. Kid Goku is happiness. The most confusing listing is the Red Ribbon Robot, as this could be a number of things. Looking it up got me this character, who is so barely in the show I don't actually remember what he does. Another option would have been the Battle Jacket that Staff Officer Black uses against Kid Goku. However, that would have been a giant vehicle instead of just a normal figure. Not to mention, while Irwin did make it, that was a playset for the 5-inch figures, so can't be that. That leads me to believe the most likely option would have been Major Metallitron, just called Red Ribbon Robot for simplicity's sake. That is a design that actually could have worked well as a toy, and I'm sad that it was cancelled if that was it. Unfortunately, the only prototype from this wave that exists is Android 8, so we have no way of knowing what the other ones looked like. This just leaves Yamcha and Puar. Now, if I were to assume that Jakks is smart, which I'm assuming they hopefully are, this would have been the Desert Bandit Yamcha look, because that is the coolest Yamcha has ever looked and will ever look, unfortunately. And yeah, that would have been an awesome figure to get, and I'm almost positive they would have reused Puar from Irwin, because it's Jakks and they like to reuse stuff that created by Irwin. Which, speaking of, Irwin had a subsidiary called If Labs, which was making figures for Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Z, and Yu Yu Hakusho. Dragon Ball Z figures were all based on the films and were a 9-inch scale with more detail and articulation, while the Dragon Ball figures were just 7 inches but still had the detail and articulation down. They even made a Desert Bandit Yamcha and Poir. Why is it I'm bringing them up is because eventually they were renamed Great Ape when Jakks took over, and they had prototype waves for more Dragon Ball, but Jakks decided to only focus on Dragon Ball Z films for now. And if we can look at these prototypes, a few of them are interesting. I won't go into all of them, I might make a separate video on that at a later date, but looking at these, they had a buff Master Roshi, a General Blue, a Kid Krillin, and a pirate robot. Do these look familiar to you guys? So yeah, almost all of Wave 1 was created by If Labs, and then shrunken down to 5-inch scale with a lot of detail removed. The only new figures are the Kid Gokus, but those are just modifieds of the Krillins that they created, with new heads. So yeah, Wave 2 would have likely ever done the same thing. The Yamcha and Poir would have been shrunk down likely from If Labs. The Android 8 prototype would have been resurfaced. I'm not sure how Red Ribbon Robot would fit in, but I'm sure they'd find a way to reuse something. However, before we close out original Dragon Ball, Jakks Pacific did have another way of releasing figures in this line, and that is through their trilogy series. So over here we can see a 2-pack of General Blue and the Pirate Robot, but now General Blue has no accessories, so it's a little less good than the pack with Krillin. We also have this trilogy Kid Goku with his tail. This is the variant I showed earlier, where he's got the orange gi in the tail. He still comes with the turtle. We also got this full power Master Roshi, who has a color corrected blue pants to make it look more like how it looks in the show. So definitely the version to grab. However, the most interesting one is this 2-pack called the Master and Scholar set. This set features an exclusive Kid Goku that comes with his white shirt and blue pants. This is based on the look he has when training for the 22nd tournament. However, this figure has a tail, which he does not have in the arc. So good job, Jakks. You used the wrong Kid Goku mold. As for Buff Master Roshi, he has been redecoed and comes with a new head that makes him resemble Jackie Chun. This makes him full power Jackie Chun because he's still ultra buff. This also makes it the only figure of full power Jackie Chun, and that is really awesome that it exists, since that does happen during the arc. So yeah, this is definitely a really awesome set, but it's also sadly the rarest of the original Dragon Ball figures that they've made, and if so, unfortunately a lot of people can't get it, though. Here's something I always thought was weird. Jakks was really big on reusing Irwin molds, but Irwin's Master Roshi is already pretty close to Jackie Chun outfit-wise. All they would have to do is sculpt a new head. So I wonder why they never tried that. Regardless, let's give our closing thoughts on original Dragon Ball's toy line from Jakks. This toy line has a lot of missed potential. You got 3 characters that everyone would want, Goku, Krillin, and Roshi, but then General Blue and the Pirate Robot, while they're cool that they exist now because we don't have other figures of them, it really wasn't a great line pick for toy line aimed at kids. Kids wouldn't have watched Dragon Ball as likely as they would have Dragon Ball Z, so I think they should have included characters like Yamcha and Tien, and especially King Piccolo, or maybe even a mercenary Tao, since that's a character that is actually really cool in the show if they actually did watch it. So yeah, this line unfortunately really is a letdown, but hey, maybe their Dragon Ball Z line will be better. Now, covering Dragon Ball Z is going to be very difficult because, well, the line does technically start with traditional ways, but quickly spirals into just random sublines. And combine that, there's just a lot of figures in general to take a look at, especially compared to how much Dragon Ball had. Vegeta, how many products did Jakks Pacific create?
It's over 9,000! What, 9,000? There's no way that can be right!
Alright, I double checked. It's not actually that much, but still far more than what I think would make for an entertaining video. So instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go character by character and bunch a ton of the figures into one segment, only talking about the ones that I own specifically for characters with multiple figures. We're of course going to begin with Goku himself, since he has a bunch of figures, around 60 total in the line. So I bet you're wondering, how did they get around 60 Gokus created? Easy. They created a few molds and then just made a bunch of variants on top of those molds. Sometimes they'd swap out things like hands or faces, but in general it's the same. For example, let's look at base form Goku. You can get a standard one, a yelling one, a battle damaged one based on the Buu saga, a battle damaged one based on the Frieza saga, and a battle damaged one based on his fight with Raditz. And that's just base form Goku alone. There's also paint variants like the shiny paint figures or these black and white manga style figures, or even just stuff like the shades a little different. They really got their money's worth out of these Goku molds, and they found ways to resell it over and over again. So from here on, we're just going to focus on the ones I think are standout and the ones that I owned specifically of Goku. Some of my favorite Gokus include stuff like the battle damaged variants, because those add a unique display option that you don't get with the standard releases. Also really like the end of Z Goku, because that's enough that we don't see too much. I really love the Saiyan Armor Goku, even though it's really rare, but that's just because it's Super Saiyan Grade 3 Goku. Form we only see for 30 seconds in the anime, but it's so cool that the Jakks made a figure of it. As for fun oddities, we got some weird stuff like this Goku with normal hair that's blowing in the wind being painted yellow to look like Super Saiyan Goku. This very, very funny looking Super Saiyan 3 Goku who looks like he's got rabies. And also some other fun stuff like how the manga Goku has this shirt that's made of cloth, but the normal Super Saiyan Goku doesn't. It's just fun stuff like that. Jakks always really went out on limbs with these variants. They made a ton of fun ones that I really like. Speaking of Goku, though, he only got 2 forms, Super Saiyan 1 and 3. We never got Super Saiyan 2 Goku in this toy line, just the Super Saiyan and Super Saiyan 3. The only other thing was the Grade 3 form that I already showed. But with all this background set up, we can finally get to the 2 Goku figures I own from this line and talk about the 2 body molds that accompany them as we do. The first Goku that I own is the Battle Damage Goku, which was the first one technically available from Jakks Pacific. This figure depicts his look from the Buu saga when he's fighting Kid Buu. Or at least it's supposed to, but as we can see, they didn't really do a good job, and I'll explain why later. Figure has a variant in terms of how the paint is applied to the battle damage. Some versions are red, others are black. There is also a variant that has metallic paint that's included in this 2-pack with Kid Buu under the Earth Defender's name. I have that version. As for articulation, the head can move up and down and rotate. The arms can fully rotate, go in and out, elbows bend, biceps swivel, wrist pivot, waist swivel, legs kick back and forth, knees bend, and the ankle has some movement too. This figure is clearly designed to be put into a spirit bomb type pose, as seen here. And I think that's a really good option, because it's hard to get Gokus that can do that pose very well. So yeah, I'd say this is definitely one to grab. And yeah, it was a body mold that they used a lot, as you'll see when we get to other characters. The other Goku that I own is Super Saiyan Goku, but not this Super Saiyan Goku. This weird Super Saiyan Goku. I don't know what the heck happened here, but he's red. And he also has this earring on his ear, and you're wondering why, because it's not on the other release. Well, there was a 2-pack with this Goku body mold that came with a Vegeta called the Art of Fusion set that depicts them when they put the earrings on about to fuse into Vegito. They even have magnetics in their torso so they can stick together. So somehow that head ended up on this body and the hair became transparent red. As for what I think they were trying to do, I believe that this is supposed to be Super Kaioken from that filler arc where he fights Piccolo in Dragon Ball Z. I've heard others say this might have been false Super Saiyan, but the eyes are still painted, so I don't think that's what they were going for. To make mine look more like Super Kaioken, I've actually customized him to be all red. As for the body's articulation, the head rotates, arms rotate in and out, elbows bend, biceps swivel, no wrist swivel, waist swivel, legs, knees, and ankles. So yeah, this Goku body mold is actually a lot worse than the other one I looked at. The hands look weird, but you know what, it's not so bad. But I'm all out of Goku, so let's move on to Vegeta. Now Vegeta is just like Goku. He has a ton of figures, some of which don't look very good, honestly.
Kakarot, I think I'm going to puke.
The main Vegeta body mold seems to be this Android Saga one, which of course, because this is Jakks Pacific, has a variant with a different head and some different paint. Also has a Super Saiyan repaint, of course, which itself has like 2 or 3 different paint variants that also have alternate heads sometimes. Man, Jakks Pacific getting their money's worth, alright. Back to the Not Great one. This is the Vegeta included in the Art of Fusion 2-pack with Goku. It's based on his Buu Saga outfit, but you could get it released on its own later with a different head and a halo accessory. And there was also a normal version that came with the Super Saiyan Grade 2 Vegeta, which is another awesome addition to the line, and I'm happy that they included Super Vegeta because he doesn't have a ton of merch. Speaking of Vegetas without a ton of merch, we also got the End of Z Vegeta. Now this figure is interesting because the articulation is a lot more limited than what Jakks was offering, and the sculpting looks far closer to what something Irwin would make, which leads me to believe this was originally an Irwin product that then Jakks got the mold to and released in this line. The final Vegeta I want to highlight is the Saiyan Saga Vegeta, who does reuse the arms and legs of the Cell Saga Vegeta, but at least the torso and head are new from what I can tell. Scouter is sadly the wrong color, but to get to the correct color you have to buy the Arlia Colors Vegeta, which is based on an early animation error that happened with Vegeta in Dragon Ball Z. That figure is available in a 2-pack with Nappa, who also has the animation error colors. The Nappa is just a repaint of Irwin Nappa. It's not a new mold from Jakks. Either option is really cool. I especially appreciate the Arlia option, as that's a very uncommon color scheme for Vegetas. Sadly, both are very expensive because this was one of the final things that Jakks Pacific released before they lost the license. The only Vegeta that I own from Jakks Pacific is this Battle Damage Vegeta based on the Frieza saga, specifically after he gets revived by the Dragon Balls. This figure has a few variants, of course, namely how bright the color is, but there is also a Super Saiyan version, despite this being from the Frieza saga, where Vegeta does not get the transformation.
I don't think you realize just who you're dealing with. So let me show you. Introducing, for the very first time, Super Saiyan Vegeta!
As for the figure's articulation, the head swivels, and beyond that, it's the same articulation as the Battle Damage Goku we took a look at. Overall, this is a decent Vegeta figure, and I'm happy that I own it, because it's nice to get some Battle Damaged versions of the main cast on occasion. With Vegeta all taken care of, let's move on to Piccolo. All the Piccolos seem to use this body mold. There is no reused parts here, though the antennas do seem breakable, as all the images I found have them broken. You can get him in this color scheme, a more manga-inspired color scheme, or this weird blue color scheme that I found. As for getting the cape and turban, you can get them in this translucent Piccolo figure set right here, or in this 2-pack with second form Cell, who we'll have more to say on later. For costume variants, there is a shirtless Piccolo who reuses a chest from this Nail figure, who I'll have more to say on later in the video. Beyond that, though, I did notice that the chest on the normal Piccolo got reused eventually for this Battle Damaged Goku. And speaking of reuse, there's this really funny looking gimmicky Piccolo figure. Like, seriously, look at his face. It's really funny looking.
This is amazing! I feel incredible! Yes, 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 yes! I can win! I feel great! I can do this! Ugh.
The reason I brought that gimmicky figure up is because it was repainted into the manga black and white colors in this 2-pack with a Battle Damaged Goku, I guess to represent the Piccolo from that saga when he and Goku fought. It's really cool. And yeah, that's all I have for Piccolo. I don't have any of these. If I had to get one, I'd probably go with the shirtless version because it's the most unique one. All that said, though, let's move on to Gohan. This is the point where all the reuse gets blatant, as all the adult Gohans here use the same body molds as adult Gokus. For example, this one that you see here, while it looks new, was actually reused from this adult Goku. We also got the Battle Damage version reused. Did also find this version reuses the Super Saiyan Goku body mold, but I couldn't find where it came from, so it might just be a custom someone made. As for outfit variants, we got Super Saiyan Gohan here in a 2-pack with Goten. This one comes with the blue outfit, which is just repainted from the standard Gohan, but the arms are from the Battle Damage version. We also have a Master and Scholar pack with that manga color Piccolo. And this Gohan reuses the legs from the Goku body mold. You can even still see the stuff on the bottom. And the upper portion is a cloth shirt, which if you remove is reused from one of the battle damaged shirtless Gokus that exist in this line. The most interesting Gohan variant to me comes from this Legend of the Saiyans 2-pack, where you get Super Saiyan Gohan and Super Saiyan Gohan.
Yes, naturally, it's a Super Saiyan bargain sale.
This set includes this exclusive Super Saiyan Gohan in the Great Saiyaman outfit. Now, this figure is entirely reused from the Irwin Great Saiyaman figure. However, I never owned that figure, but I do actually own this one, despite it being a lot rarer. I just got lucky and I found it. So as for his articulation, we can finally look at it. It's a ball joint at the head, universal shoulders, nothing in the wrists, nothing in the waist. The legs cannot move due to the skirt piece, and the knees can bend. So yeah, not very articulated, and definitely not worth how much this Super Saiyan version costs. But if you get lucky and find it at a good price like I did, I highly recommend it, as it's an awesome look for Gohan that is very unique and not one you see all the time in merchandise. As for younger Gohans, the first one we got was Gohan based on the Saiyan saga in this trilogy set, which looks pretty alright. Now, there was also a Screaming Head variant included in this father and son 2-pack with Goku. Looks a little less good. But there was also Wilderness Gohan, which comes with this deluxe Shenron figure. The Shenron figure looks nice, and the Gohan also looks pretty good. Surprisingly, these are all new molds. Well, they all reuse the same mold for each other, but was a brand new mold to begin with. And same thing with this Toddler Gohan figure. The last one I actually own. It comes in a 2-pack with Raditz. Its articulation is that his head swivels, arms are universal, the legs can move but are limited by this design of the outfit, and the tail rotates. It's really cool that this exists. And then we also have this thing called Tien Gohan, which is what they use for Cell Saga Gohan. We have this version that comes in the trilogy set, which does look pretty cool. It has a cape. There's also the convention exclusive 1 of 100 release that doesn't have a cape. The coolest version of this mold was gotta be the Bojack Unbound Gohan that has him coming in 2-pack with Bojack, who we'll talk about later. And that also got a Super Saiyan release later on. Both of these are very desired and rare now, unfortunately. And lastly, a black and white variant that comes with an Irwin repaint of Perfect Cell. With Gohan all covered, let's move on to Trunks. Trunks, more than anyone else, really embodies how much this line likes to reuse stuff. His legs are once again reused from the Super Saiyan Goku, but his arms are the most interesting. As if you look at the fingers, they have this weird line near the middle of them. And that's because they're reused from GT Vegeta, who had biker gloves on, and they've just been painted over to look like normal hands. In fact, the jacket is also reused from GT Vegeta along with the chest. The reason this is a big problem is that Jakks figures are 5 inches like the Irwin ones, but the GT figures are 6 inches like Figuarts, as you can see with this GT Goku comparison. So these arms and chest are a little big on Trunks here, and that causes a lot of problems. This mold would still be reused for Super Saiyan Trunks when both a jacket and jacketless version. The jacketless version has new arms, but the chest is still the same. And there's also this weird one that comes with a King Cold figure, and it has the Super Saiyan hair head sculpt, but it's painted to look like normal Trunks. What a weird error that happened, and I'm assuming that's why that set is really, really expensive. As for outfit variants, we've got Super Saiyan Grade 3 Trunks, who did come in a 2-pack with Super Saiyan Vegeta originally, but that was called Super Saiyan 2 Trunks for some reason, despite this not being the name of the form. But he was released on his own later, which comes with this weird weapon that fires missiles that's supposed to be like a ki blast thing. A lot of the figures in this line came with it, but I haven't mentioned it till now because I haven't found images of them with it. As for the figure itself, I've actually owned this. We can look at some articulation. Sadly, the articulation is just the same as the battle damaged Vegeta I took a look at, so fortunately it is kind of a little limited with how the wrists move, but it's not too bad for our only figure of Super Saiyan Grade 3 Trunks. Speaking of that Vegeta body mold, if you buy the father and son 2-pack, you get this exclusive Trunks in the Saiyan armor, but with short hair. This head will be reused in a figure I'll talk about in a minute, but I do own this. We can look at the Vegeta's articulation and see that it is exactly the same as the battle damage Vegeta, just, without the battle damage, so of course the mold is the same. But still, this is a look he does technically sport in the show. The short hair with the armor is in like about an episode and a half worth when you're the end of the arc, the Cell Saga. So if you're a big fan of that look, I highly recommend tracking this down, even though it is pretty uncommon. So just get lucky like I did and you get it for a good price. As hinted at just a minute ago, that head is reused from this Tien Trunks figure. This figure, I suspect, is also from Irwin originally, as the articulation scheme is far below what Jakks usually offers for their characters, and the sculpting looks more like Irwin than Jakks does as well. But yeah, this is cool that this exists, because this is a look we only see for another 2 episodes at the very end of the show. So it's cool that it actually has some merchandise that you can buy from it. And with that, we can now start talking about present Trunks, or Kid Trunks, I should say. The only figure of Kid Trunks that Jakks Pacific produced is part of his Super Saiyan form. You'll notice his hands are pointed, and that's because he comes in a 2-pack with Goten and Gotenks. It's called the Art of Fusion set. The idea was that it makes them look like they're doing the fusion pose, but the other arms do not connect, so it's not a perfect replica. As for the figure's articulation, the head rotates, the arms are universal, the waist is on a pivot and a swivel to try and help with the fusion pose, one of the legs can kick, and the knees bend and rotate. As for Goten, he has the exact same articulation, except that the opposite leg moves and bends at the knee. This is a pretty cool set, and Goten actually got to be used a lot more than Trunks, who was exclusive. Goten got to be used in this Good vs. Evil pack where he comes with Super Saiyan Broly, and the Brother vs. Brother pack where he comes with Super Saiyan Gohan. These are pretty decent figures, and would be a decent stand-in until Figuarts can create their own Super Saiyan Goten and Trunks, which will hopefully happen someday. Since we got all the heroes out the way, let's talk about their fusions. Let's start with Gogeta, who does look pretty good, though once again almost all of the body is reused. The legs are, of course, reused from Super Saiyan Goku, like over half the figures in this line, while the upper body and arms are reused from the Super Saiyan Battle Damaged Goku. Not even the jacket is new, as that comes from Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta from the GT line, which is a 6-inch figure, meaning it looks a little big on this 5-inch figure. There's 2 variants of this figure. The Fusion Reborn packaging version comes with a halo, while the 10th anniversary version has a stamp on his leg that says 10th anniversary and comes with no halo. Vegeta, meanwhile, actually has a brand new mold. I can't find any reused parts. There's a chance the legs are reused from Saiyan Armor Vegeta, but it's hard to say. And yeah, this got repainted into Super Saiyan Vegeta with no differences. But then later we got this more shiny paint Vegeta that has arms which are reused from the Trunks without the jacket, which I did find that also has another variant where it has the jacket but no sleeves, so good on Jakks for continuing to make variants to try and keep us interested. As for Vegeta though, he's got a ton of variants out there that were re-releases with paint differences and such, but still overall the mold is a good figure. Like with Vegeta, Gotenks here is a brand new mold and comes with this Kamikaze Ghost. The variant exists in this limited edition paint series where he comes with Super Boo Gotenks Absorbed, which is weird because he shouldn't be able to fight this Boo because he's already absorbed by him. However, if you bought the Art of Fusion set, you get a different Gotenks, which is just a repaint of the Irwin base form Gotenks, but now with Super Saiyan hair, and with less paint overall. That makes it look kind of worse compared to what Irwin was doing. They also did make Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks, who reuses the body mold that Jakks created for their Gotenks. This figure looks pretty cool and does have his fingers in a galactic donut pose. You can get him on his own or in a 2-pack Art of Fusion set with Super Saiyan Vegeta. But yeah, Gotenks was treated pretty well. Now with the fusions all done, let's move on to the side characters on the good guy side. Jakks surprisingly made a Buu Saga Tien when Irwin did not, but I'd have suspected this is an Irwin mold once again being released by Jakks, as he has the hard plastic skirt piece, which means he has no leg movement, which is something Irwin did a lot, and also the sculpting looks similar to Irwin compared to Jakks. His cape is removable, by the way, which is nice. But yeah, this is a decent Buu Saga Tien figure. Jakks eventually tried again, this time reusing legs from a Super Saiyan Goku, like usual, and the upper body from a Super Saiyan Battle Damaged Goku, with a new head. This figure would eventually be repainted into a Cell Games Tien, which also looks pretty good, and that was part of the trilogy wave. Jakks also released a 10th anniversary Tien in a pack with Semi-Perfect Cell. This figure looks pretty great, and is based on his look from most of the Cell Saga. Instead of reusing the chest from the Battle Damaged Goku, he reuses it from the Battle Damaged Saiyan Saga Goku. And yeah, this figure is pretty uncommon, but I actually own it, so we can look at the articulation and see that it's pretty similar to all the other figures from Jakks Pacific. But still, this is probably my favorite of the Tiens that they made, and if you can get it for a good price, I highly recommend him. It's nice to see that Jakks gave Tien some love when most merchandise companies don't. Surprisingly, Jakks did not make Krillin and Yamcha in the main line. Now, Krillin I kind of get because he's a bit smaller and that would require a lot of new parts, but Yamcha is tall and has an outfit very similar to that of all their Goku and Gohan figures. So why didn't they just retool those is beyond me. Even Jakks seems to hate Yamcha, and that's just not surprising because it's Yamcha. That leaves Oob as one of the good guys that is left, and this is a pretty good figure, though once again the sculpting looks similar to Irwin than Jakks, so I think this is another one that was reused from a cancelled Irwin figure. Figure looks pretty great, and you can get him on his own or in a 2-pack with End of Z Goku. There was also a limited paint version that came once again in a Master and Scholar pack with End of Z Goku. This is a pretty good figure of Oob, since he also does not have much figures out there. If you bought the Brother vs. Brother 2-pack, you would get Nail. Nail is a repaint of Piccolo with a new chest that depicts him shirtless and a new head that has him screaming. Like with Piccolo, though, his antennae are very brittle and will often break from all the examples I've seen on Google Images. Now, the figure is shirtless, which is inaccurate, but if you look at the prototypes, they actually did have the jacket, so I'm guessing Jakks decided that it wasn't necessary to include his jacket because that would have required them to spend extra money. Still, though, as one of the few Nail figures that exists in the world, this is a pretty decent one to get if you can get it for a good price. The final good guy character is Piccolo. Piccolo here, I suspect, is another Irwin figure, as again, it just looks more like an Irwin figure than a Jakks figure, and the articulation's a lot less. But one of the advantages is that Piccolo is a character who doesn't have any other figures, like at all. This is his only figure. And surprisingly, he's pretty cheap to find without his hat. You see, finding him with his hat is a lot more expensive, but still, either way, it's definitely a figure you should pick up if you're a fan of this character who exists in the filler saga between the Cell and Boo saga. I almost forgot about the Kaioshin figure. Now, this figure is exclusive to the Art of Fusion pack with a Super Saiyan Vegeta. This figure reuses almost the entirety of the Kabuto Kai figure from Irwin, but swaps out the head for the Kaioshin Fusion head. In the process, the articulation is almost identical, but Jakks actually improved the thing from Irwin by making the underskirt piece soft plastic instead of hard plastic, allowing the legs to finally move. This is definitely a figure I recommend, as it's unlikely that this character will ever receive an action figure again since of how he is such an obscure character. With him, I believe we've finished all the good guys, so we're going to move on to the bad guys. Let's start with First Form Frieza. This figure looks pretty good, though the head is a bit big. He was released near the end of the line in a single carded release, and is very difficult to find. His tail is on a bendy wire, which is cool, but it is also removable, and that causes a lot of people to lose them, so you'll see a lot of them without their tails on places like eBay. But still, if you can manage to get them for a good price, I would highly recommend them. I think this is one of Jakks' best sculpts, even if the head is a bit big. They also made a Cyborg Frieza figure, or Mecha Frieza, but the box does call him Cyborg Frieza, and it also shows that he comes with a sword that he never uses in the show, nor can the figure actually hold it. Speaking of stuff that's removable, the tail is also a removable piece, so make sure you check before you buy it to make sure you have your tail. As for the figure's articulation, the head rotates, the arms are universal, elbows bend, wrist swivel, no waist swivel, limited hip movement, limited knee movement, really good ankle movement, and the tail can rotate. This is definitely a figure to grab from Jakks Pacific. I'd say this is one of their highlights of their line. If you bought the Legendary Battles 2-pack that comes with a battle damaged Vegeta, you would get an exclusive Final Form Frieza figure, along with a few Namekian Dragon Balls, but the Frieza figure is why you're buying this set. It's exclusive to it, and it does look pretty good, though it does reuse a lot of the parts from the Mecha Frieza, though they did actually add a waist swivel this time on the figure. And yeah, I think this looks pretty great for a Jakks Pacific figure and a Final Form Frieza in general. If you can get one for a decent price, I highly recommend it. No, it does suck that this was the version that was exclusive when it's much more iconic than the Cyborg Frieza that was a mainline figure that you could get everywhere. Speaking of exclusives though, there was the Ultimate Struggles 2-pack that comes with a Battle Damaged Super Saiyan Goku and a Battle Damaged Final Form Frieza. This Final Form Frieza is exclusive to this pack and this pack alone, which makes it the only way to get these Final Form Friezas was to buy exclusive 2-packs. That kind of sucks, but this figure is even cooler than the last one as it actually has scratches on it to indicate the battle damage from when he fought Goku in the Frieza saga. And the figure looks really nice overall, but sadly the tail on this one is even more losable than the previous one, as almost all the Huffys I see online are missing the tail, and that is very sad because if it was complete, it would definitely be on my shelf if I could find it for a good price. So yeah, if you can track down this figure for a decent price, and he's complete with his tail, I highly recommend him. As for Cell, his only figure was of his semi-perfect form, which is a bit odd as this is his only figure to date, but I think the reason is that because Irwin, when they had the license, made the imperfect and perfect forms, so this was the only one left to make. As for the figure itself, you could only get him in 2 packs. First was with Piccolo in the Ultimate Struggles line, then in the 10th anniversary line with a Tien, and in the Good vs. Evil line with a Vegeta. Figure's articulation is pretty standard Jakks affair, featuring all the universal joints and such. However, the most interesting part is with the tail, as that is actually on a bendy wire, so you can pose it in any way that you desire, which I really like. And yeah, this is a really great figure of Semi-Perfect Cell. I highly recommend him as this is his only action figure to date, and it doesn't look so bad next to Figuarts. As for Majin Buu, we got the Super Buu figure. Now this looks pretty good, though strangely the legs have no articulation, instead the knees just bend, which is very odd. There is of course the shiny paint variant that all exists like with a lot of these figures, and a limited paint variant, which is the most interesting to talk about because he comes in a 2-pack with Super Saiyan Gotenks and Ghosts, but if you look at the Super Buu figure, he has the vest on, which makes it a Buu-Tanks figure, and this is the only Buu-Tanks figure to date. So yeah, if you could only get one of these Super Buus, definitely get the Buu-Tanks version, even though it is the rarest, because that is the only figure of Buu-Tanks that exists right now. Surprisingly, Super Buu Gohan Absorbed is an entirely new mold from the Super Buu figure, and yes, it does have a shiny paint variant, which is the version that I have, which allows me to show you the difference, in that his legs actually moved this time instead of the knees. A really weird change then not to have both, but still, this is a very good figure of Super Buu Gohan Absorbed. Just needs some better articulation, but still, I really like him. Kid Buu is another figure I suspect that was originally an Irwin figure. Now granted, the other 2 Buus could have also been that, because we know they were planned at one point, but this figure especially looks like Irwin. Most main giveaway is the articulation, only being 5 points: head, shoulders, and legs. Now you can get this variant in a black and white pack with a Super Saiyan 3 Goku, and that does look cool, though he does look more like a ghost now, but I think it's nice. There is also the shiny paint version, and this came in the Earth Defender set with that battle damaged shiny Goku that I had. Come to think of it, all the Earth Defender sets come with like Buu forms in shiny paint, but still, as a figure overall, this Kid Buu is okay, but I'd say there were better Buus in the line than this. Surprisingly, Jakks actually made a brand new Raditz figure, and I say surprisingly because Irwin previously had made a Raditz figure back in Wave 1 of their figures, and Jakks did not reuse it. This is an entirely new mold that also happens to come with the Scouter. As for the figure's articulation, this is the biggest improvement. While the head can't do much, the arms are universal, the elbows can bend and rotate the bicep, wrist swivel, waist swivel, the tail can be moved, which is an awesome feature, the legs can move a bit, the knees bend, the ankles move and rotate. Get him in this 2-pack with Kid Gohan, which is cool, and in a 2-pack with a battle damaged Super Saiyan Saga Goku. And eventually he did come out on his own, but that was near the end of the line. Overall, though, Raditz is one of the best figures from Jakks that they made, and I'm very happy that they created a new mold instead of just using Irwin's. Now, I know Bardock isn't technically a villain, but I am covering here for one specific reason. He is a mold reuse of Raditz. They just removed the shoulder pads and the crotch guard. You know, that is the same. He was exclusive to a 10th anniversary pack with Goku, and that pack is one of the rarest things in the line. He does have the 10th anniversary logo on his chest, but it could also be on his thigh, I noticed, which is a very weird that it's inconsistent. But yeah, definitely keep an eye out for this pack if you want it, because it's going to be very expensive to track down. And also, make sure your Bardock has his tail, because a lot of the ones on eBay don't have the tail somehow. I don't even know how that's possible.
What happened to your tail, Dots?
My tail? Why?
Answer me! No!
It was removed permanently a long time ago.
However, Bardock also got a second figure, a battle-damaged figure, which also, for some reason, has its tail getting removed a lot on eBay. Beyond that, though, yeah, it was in this Father and Son 2-pack with the Super Saiyan Grade 3 Goku. Now, this figure reuses legs and arms from Super Saiyan Battle-damaged Goku and a head from this Saiyan Warriors Goku. But yeah, this 2-pack is extremely rare, about as rare as the previous one, but to me, it's a lot more desirable for the two figures it includes. I would love to own it someday. Surprisingly, Bojack has a figure, though only the cloak and head are new. If we look at the side-by-side comparison, the legs are reused from Super Saiyan Goku like everyone else, and the upper body is reused from Super Saiyan Battle Damage Goku. Now, surprisingly, there is also a power-up Bojack in this line, but it's just a weird repaint that doesn't look accurate to the film, so definitely stick to the first release for a Bojack. But if you want an accurate full-power Bojack, get the 2-pack of Good vs. Evil with Gohan, as that actually has the proper Bojack color scheme, but that pack is very rare. But yeah, this is the best Bojack from Jakks Pacific. It's nice that they made him since he doesn't get a ton of merchandise. The only other movie figure which ironically uses the same legs and chest components is Broly. Now this figure looks a bit thin, and that's because it's supposed to be Super Saiyan Broly, or at least that's what this box says on the Entertainment Earth exclusive single release of this figure. That release also paints the eyes in, which looks a little weird because I don't think it was meant to, but it does depict Super Saiyan Broly accurately because he is supposed to have his eyes there. Now you could also get this figure without painted eyes in the 2-pack with his favorite person ever, Kid Goten.
Huh? Kakarot? What does that mean? Is that a vegetable? I hate vegetables!
Kakarot!
What the heck's a Kakarot?
Yeah, should have probably been a Goku figure he came with, but you know what? This is still a pretty good Broly figure overall, especially for the form that it's depicting. I highly recommend it if you can track one down for a good price. The final villain and final main figure I want to talk about is, surprisingly enough, King Cold. Yes, Frieza's dad actually has a figure in this line. It is exclusive to this Alien Invaders pack with a Trunks figure that has the weird hair, and this figure actually comes with 2 alternate hands, which is very surprising because no other figure in the line comes with alternate hands. This 2-pack is very, very sought after and rare, to the point where you can't find it for a good deal. Like, even King Cold missing his cape and tail can still cost you a couple $100. So yeah, I would say grab one, but it's unlikely that you'll find it for a good price. But I'd say just get the new Figure Arts version. It's probably close to the same price as this figure. Before moving on to the gimmick figures, I want to highlight these multi-packs. The Saiyan Generations 3-pack includes Goku, Gohan, and Goten, and the Kids Rule pack includes Kid Gohan, Kid Trunks, Super Saiyan 3 Goku from GT, and a Police Goten that's intended to be exclusive, except not really, because you could buy this 7-figure pack from Toys R Us that comes with an exclusive Police Goten and Police Trunks. These are very interesting, they exist. I'm not sure what these police variants are about, though. Jakks also continued Irwin's Striking Z figures line, like with this Vegeta with side-kicking action. However, a more interesting one is this Tien figure with double punch action, because he is based on his Buu Saga look, and that is an outfit we don't see in merch very much. Another interesting one is this Krillin with the Ginyu Frog and Berserker Fist action, and that's because he is based on his Saiyan armor look from the Frieza Saga, and that is a look we don't get for Krillin very often. Most surprising to me, though, was this Goku figure with kicking action. Now, what's interesting about him is if you look at his face, he's got an evil grimace and comes with a scouter. This figure represents Captain Ginyu in Goku's body, and that is awesome. Speaking of the captain, though, he also got a Striking Z figure with Milky Cannon action. Push the button on his back and his arms spraying up and down like he's firing. This is a really cool figure of Captain Ginyu, and he was eventually indoctrinated into the main line with the Frieza's Revenge subline. So yeah, this figure is technically both a Gillette figure and a normal figure. However, I saved the most interesting for last with Recoome. I'll talk about his gimmick later, but you'll notice he's battle damaged, and this is a look he never has in the show. And I found out, thanks to the Dragon Ball Figures website, that this is because he was based on this Irwin prototype for a canceled battle damage line they were working on, and somehow got over here. The same website also showed me how many parts of Broly were reused and what parts were new. Now, Recoome, like we knew, also got eventually indoctrinated into the main line with the 10th anniversary box set with a battle damaged Goku. As for the figure himself, while he looks inaccurate, it is a decent figure overall. I actually own this one so I can show off his articulation. Articulation is surprisingly similar to the other figures in the line, though a little awkward due to the gimmick, which is if you pull this ring on his back, his arms flail up back and forth like he's punching rapidly. It's a fun little gimmick, and this is a fun little figure and a nice novelty item if you're into battle damage figures. But that was it for the Striking Z figure. Now, if you guys remember that earlier I showed this Piccolo, and that is from this line called the Power Up series. What you do is you get a figure and a base, and you pull the string on the back of the figure, the rocks on the base will shake, you'll hear a powering up key charging sound, and the character will start screaming like they're powering up. They only made 3 figures in this assortment, the Piccolo, the Super Buu, and this battle damaged Vegeta. They also continued Irwin's Energy Glow series. We got a new battle damaged Super Saiyan Vegeta, a Super Saiyan Trunks in the Saiyan armor with a weird Ki Blast effect, and even Super Saiyan Gohan in the Kai outfit. Now, quickly talking about the vehicles, we got the Capsule 911 with Kid Krillin. Yes, this Dragon Ball Z product comes with original Dragon Ball's Kid Krillin figure. It's a little weird, but I have a suspicion they intended for an adult Krillin, but they didn't realize they didn't make their own mold. Early renders for pre-orders show the Striking Z figure from Irwin was going to be included originally, but got replaced by this. The capsule itself doesn't seem to be based on any particular ship from Dragon Ball or Dragon Ball Z that I could find, but it still is a nice little design, and it's cool to still have vehicles in this line because you don't see them often for Dragon Ball. You can track it down for a good price. I'd recommend it. The only other vehicle is the 3 Car 668. It's an interesting vehicle choice, and it's based directly on Mr. Satan's car from the show, except that version says 666 because, get it, Mr. Satan. But this figure, beyond that, is pretty cool. It comes with a Super Saiyan Gohan in the Great Saiyaman outfit after he removes the green parts, which is a re-release from Irwin. As for the car, though, it's a decent little vehicle, and yeah, both vehicles do also have lights and sounds, I should mention that, and that's all that Jakks made. The rest were all Irwin reissues. So now let's move on to the playsets. Editor's Edition. I just found out that Irwin originally was planning on making the Capsule 911 because I found it at their booth from Toy Fair, thanks to the Dragon Ball Toys website. The main playset to mention is the Tenkaichi Budokai Stadium. The playset is mostly made out of cardboard pieces that surround it, but there is plastic in the middle and on the seats itself. And it holds a decent amount of figures, and it does a good job of representing the look from the Buu saga of Dragon Ball Z. Now, the box does say Dragon Ball Z, but here's a fun fact. When it was shown off at Toy Fair, it was in Dragon Ball GT packaging, so it's a good thing that Jakks changed it to better match the source. The only other playset is the strangest one. It's this absorbing Buu playset. It's the upper half of Super Buu, but it opens up and you get all of his inside bits. And it's like a little playset, like those episodes where Goku and Vegeta are inside Buu. You get 3 little minifigures that you can move around this playset. This is the weirdest thing that Jakks has made, but it is creative, I'll give it that. And that's it for the playsets, so let's move on to the canceled figures. The only outright canceled figure was this Tien Go 10 figure, which I'm assuming was another Irwin prototype like that Teen Trunks that I showed earlier. I'm assuming it was also canceled just because they couldn't reuse the parts from anything. A 2-pack that was canceled was this father and son Goku and toddler Gohan 2-pack. I'm assuming that was canceled just because the Raditz made more sense with the toddler Gohan. And we also had this Frieza with his pod. Not sure if this would have been a standard release or a deluxe release of some sort, but it wasn't released in this way at all. And the most tragic loss was the 2 Great Apes and the Porunga deluxe figures. Would have been the only Ozaru merch we've had of the standard Ozarus so far. The normal Shenron prototype shown at Toy Fair was also in a different pose than the released version. Now, this one is just pure speculation, but I highly suspect Janemba was also planned at some point by Jakks and likely was canceled due to not being able to reuse parts. My evidence for this is that there is a Fusion Reborn line in this toy line, which had 2 releases, one with cards and one without cards, both of which include Goten and Trunks and single releases that I didn't notice earlier. But the main villain of the film, Janemba, is not there, so that leads me to believe that he was originally planned. And with that all said and done, we have officially ended Dragon Ball Z, and we can finally take a step into the Grand Tour with Dragon Ball GT. The GT figures are very interesting to discuss as they are actually 6-inch scale instead of 5-inch scale like everything else, meaning that they are in scale with modern action figures such as Figuarts. And we also are back to waves with this one because there's only 4 of them. Wave 1 includes GT Goku, GT Pan, GT Trunks, General Rildo, and Super Saiyan 4 Goku. Let's begin with GT Goku. It comes with this weird blue key blast accessory that a lot of the Z figures had that I didn't mention because they weren't really that interesting to the or core to the figure as a whole. Now for the figure itself, it does look really cute and looks like GT Goku, which is good. Now there is a shiny paint version, but that is exclusive to a set with Ultimate Shenron and the Black Star Dragon Balls. This is the version I have, and so you'll see him during the articulation segment, which speaking of, the articulation is that his head swivels, the arms are universal, the biceps swivel, there's a waist swivel, the legs kick, and the knees, or I guess in this case ankles, bend, but it's very stiff. This is a pretty good figure of GT Goku. I would highly recommend him. I sadly do not own the next few, but looking at Pan here, she does look pretty accurate to how she does in the show, and I like that they made Pan because this is the only girl character in this line. She includes Giru as an accessory along with her backpack. And yeah, this is a pretty good figure of Pan if you can't afford the SH Figuarts version. Just make sure you get one with the backpack at least because she looks weird without it. Trunks follows Pan, and this figure I have even less to say about. He includes a few rocks, which is an interesting accessory, but beyond that, there's not much to say beyond the fact that he does lack a lot of articulation, especially below the waist. He only has leg movement, which makes me wonder if this was another one of those Irwin prototypes that Jakks released, but who knows. The best articulated figure of Wave 1, at least I believe so, is Super Saiyan 4 Goku. As we can see, the legs have really good jointage and those the upper arms. The figure itself also looks pretty good. He includes the same rock accessories that the Trunks came with, which is fine, I guess. And I should also mention that his tail is removable, so do be careful if you're tracking one down. But should you track one down, I'd say if you're into this line, he's a decent stand-in for a Super Saiyan 4 Goku if you can't afford Figuarts or Dragon Stars. General Rildo ends Wave 1, and he looks absolutely amazing. He comes with his hat, which is a removable accessory, and that is sadly how mine is, but still. For his only action figure, this looks absolutely amazing, and the articulation is also really good, being pretty standard with a lot of the Z figures. So yeah, General Rildo is definitely the highlight of Wave 1 for me. With that all said, let's move on to Wave 2. Wave 2 introduced this weird thing where all the figures come with chibi Vegetas, but beyond that, the wave is not very special to talk about. A lot of it is reused, like for example, Super Saiyan Kid Goku is the same figure as the normal Kid Goku, but this is his only figure in the scale, so it's decent. Same thing applies to Super Saiyan Trunks, though he does include Giru this time, which does make it a nice value pack. Now, Super Saiyan 4 Goku has 0 differences, they just removed his rock, so it's actually less valuable than the first wave version. And the most interesting is the Metal Rildo, another one-time only character, and they did remove all his armor bits, making him look naked.
Don't change clothes on the street! Put your clothes on right now!
Anyway, that just leaves Baby Vegeta as the only or fully original figure in the wave, and he looks absolutely amazing. He includes a very cool accessory too, the Black Star Dragon Balls and the cup he used to hold them in during his arc. Figure has a variant with shiny paint, which makes his armor look gold, and that was exclusive to a 2-pack with Super Saiyan 3 Goku, who will have more to say on in the next wave. But as for Baby Vegeta himself, his articulation is the same as most of the Dragon Ball Z figures, so not much to go into. And yeah, this is definitely an awesome figure to grab, especially if you can't get the Dragon Star version, as this is what I used as a stand-in until that version came out. Wave 3 is when distributions really started to affect this line, as a lot of these figures are extremely rare. Let's start with GT Super Saiyan 3 Kid Goku. It's the same figure as the last two, except now he's the Super Saiyan 3 head and a new energy effect piece, which looks kind of cool but a little big. And then we got Pan in the robot suit. Now this is a very episode specific figure, but it does do a great job of capturing the look of the Planet M2 Machine Mutant robots. Sadly though, this is like the rarest figure of the wave, so good luck tracking it down. Super Saiyan Trunks got a variant in this wave where he has without the jacket, but beyond that is the exact same mold, just comes with a new effect piece that looks a little weird. Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta is pretty interesting. His face looks a bit derpy, but that's the only unique part about him, as the rest is all reused from Super Saiyan 4 Goku. And it's not even accurate, as Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta is supposed to have red fur, not brown. Now in the original GT release, he came with an orange piece, but if you for some reason needed it in blue, because that's how it is in the show, you had to buy this Dragon Ball Z wave version, which does still use the GT logo, but it was released in a wave of Dragon Ball Z figures. This is honestly just a really weird figure in general. I'd say just skip it and get the Dragon Star version if you need a Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta. That leaves GT Vegeta as the only truly unique figure in this wave, and he does look really nice. His jacket is removable if you don't want it on, which is awesome, and he does come with this yellow beam thingy that you plug onto his hand. It looks alright. Articulation is the same as all the other Jakks Pacific Dragon Ball Z figures, nothing really to mention there. And yeah, I really like this GT Vegeta, and I definitely recommend if you can get him for a good price since Figure Arts hasn't made him yet. And yeah, this is his look after he shaves, so he sadly did not get the look before he shaved.
That mustache has got to go. It makes you look like a total geek. It makes you look like a total geek.
Wave 4 is by far the rarest wave of this line, and even the other Dragon Ball lines from Jakks was really hard to find this one. So we're going to start with the reused stuff. So Goku got another release, again, coming with the energy effect of Super Saiyan 3 Goku, but he does have a new head sculpt where he's angry. But if we zoom in on the head, you can see there's an orange piece there with the Dragon Ball, and that is based on this episode of Dragon Ball GT where he swallows Nova Shenron. So that's nice that they made this variant, and I would love to get it someday if I can get it for a good price, because that's when they do episode-specific variants like this. Super Saiyan 4 Goku got yet another release, though this time the box does specify a new sculpt, and what that means is a new head sculpt. If you look on the one on the left, that's the new version, and yeah, it looks significantly better than the old one, which makes it sucks that this version is the harder one to get, because it looks so much better. This wave finally gave us Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta, and he does actually look pretty nice, though to be expected. He does reuse a lot of parts from GT Vegeta, namely the entire lower waist and the forearms, but everything else is new. He does look really nice, especially next to Super Saiyan 4 Goku, so yeah, definitely grab him if you wanted to get the Super Saiyan 4s from this line. He's a good one, and much better than Gogeta. We then got another Real Doll variant, this one having new armor. The armor is specifically based on the Sigma Force after he absorbs them. This figure is the exact same Real Doll sculpt underneath, though, but these armor bits look absolutely amazing, and I really hate that this figure is so rare because I really want one and I would love to own it, but it's so expensive. Now take what I just said and multiply it by 10, because oh my god, Nova Shenron is like the most rare figure in this entire line, or close to it, and that is a shame because this is like another one of Jakks Pacific's bangers, man. This figure looks absolutely stunning. He has removable wings, which is sad because they will get lost on a lot of copies, and even those copies still cost a couple $100. But still, man, if you can somehow, and I do mean somehow, find this for a really good deal, don't pass it up, man, because this is one of their best options and is definitely a high note to end the line on. Now, talking about the 2-packs, we see this one has a Super Saiyan 4 Goku and a Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta in a 2-pack. You could also get the same 2-pack, but now with black and white colors. For more interesting 2-packs, we got this Super Saiyan Trunks versus Super Saiyan Vegeta, a fight that I'm almost positive doesn't happen in the show. But yes, you've heard it correctly, Super Saiyan Vegeta is in this box set, and he's exclusive, but it is just a repaint of the normal Vegeta, just now with yellow hair. So not really worth it, but if you want a Super Saiyan Vegeta from GT, this is basically your only option for an articulated version of him. Another very interesting 2-pack is Baby Vegeta versus Oob. Yes, Oob, but though this figure is actually of Majub, and he looks pretty good. I think he's an entirely new mold, and I don't see any reused parts, though do keep in mind this figure for some reason is lacking a vest. It's weird that this has happened twice now, first with Nail, now him. But still, for being the only articulated Majub figure, it is really good, and I really would recommend it if you can find it for a good price. However, the final 2-pack is by far the most interesting one, as it features a Parasite Baby with Dr. Mew. Now, the accessory is also really cool, as you see Baby in the test tube, but that's besides the point. Looking at the baby figure included, he looks very nice, and is actually somewhat articulated, which is great, because this is its only figure this form. But Dr. Mew is also its only figure, but sadly he is battle damaged, which does limit the poses you can put him in, but based on what it looks like in the show, they did a remarkable job capturing it. Articulation's pretty standard for him, but he does include a cool gimmick where you can remove his hat, and his head is shaped with like a little hole in it, so you can store a Black Star Dragon Ball in it like in the show. This is an awesome 2-pack and definitely one to track down, and thankfully Dr. Mew is pretty cheap, though the baby is a bit more expensive even though he's smaller and they were only sold in this set. It's a little weird how that worked out, but still, highly recommend. So yeah, these 2-packs were pretty cool, but guess what? They made a second batch that are far cooler and far rarer. The first of these 2-packs is Super 17 versus Super Saiyan Vegeta. Now, starting with Super Saiyan Vegeta, this figure is the exact same as before, except this time they threw in his jacket, which makes it instantly better value. As for Super 17, he's an entirely new figure, and he was also released as part of the trilogy wave if you want to get him on his own. There's a slight paint variant between the two of them, but it's not much of a difference. Figure itself looks absolutely amazing, and best of all, he's really tall, like even taller than the SH Figure Arts version that just came out recently. So if you thought that version was too small, this is the version to get. The final 2-pack is the best one and also possibly the most rare thing in all of these Dragon Ball lines. It is Omega Shenron versus GT Kid Goku. GT Kid Goku is almost identical, except he does actually have the tail this time. This is the only release that came with the tail. As for Omega Shenron, the figure looks absolutely stunning and is really, really big. And he, for a while, this was the only Omega Shenron action figure you could get until Dragon Stars made theirs. Figure looks great, articulation's pretty good, and yeah, sad that this set is extremely hard to find because the Omega Shenron figure is another one of Jakks' best figures. And that was it for their 2-packs. We'll look at the last of the figures from the trilogy set, and then I'll give my closing thoughts and talk about the canceled figures from GT. Further than the trilogy figures, up first is a GT Kid Goku with an angry expression just like Wave 4, except there is no Dragon Ball on his forehead this time, which makes it an alright variant, but not something you absolutely need to track down. Similar thing can be said for Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, which was also in the trilogy wave. The figure now features translucent hair and also flocked fur on the arms, making it very fuzzy feeling, which is an awesome touch. It does make it a little bit more interesting than the standard version, to me at least. However, what came next was actually a very exciting one, as it was Nova Shenron again, but this time in blue. And that makes it Ice Shenron, though the blue is not as accurate to the source as it should be. But still, it is very, very cool that they made an Ice Shenron figure. And sadly, he is just as expensive as Nova, if not even more so. So yeah, these dragons from Jakks are very tough to find, sadly. And that is it for the trilogy line. So with all that said, let's move on to the canceled figures from Jakks and end the video. Now, while there was no outright canceled figures from GT, I did find these listings on a website named Toylines, and these figures were pre-orders that you could order for upcoming Dragon Ball figures that were supposed to come out, but Jakks lost the license before they did. They were called the Best of Dragon Ball line. Now, skipping Dragon Ball Z, as all the figures here did come out under the Fusion Reborn banner, and come to think of it, that might be what explain why there's 2 waves of it that have the exact same figures in them. But the more interesting ones are with the GT and original. We'll start with GT. It says it has no new characters, but there is some interesting canceled stuff here, like a 2-pack with Super Saiyan 3 Goku and General Rildo. Now, this is a fight we don't actually see in the show, to my recollection, but when Super Saiyan Goku fought General Rildo, he was in his Sigma Force absorbed state. So that means this could have been a way to get that very rare Wave 4 figure back out there. And that would have been an awesome idea, since that figure was so uncommon to find at the time. Another awesome thing was the Best of Wave, which has 3 figures that aren't that interesting. Super Saiyan 4 Goku, Gogeta, and Baby. We can expect those to be the standards, but Omega Shenron, Nova Shenron Blue, and Nova Shenron Gold were going to be in this line, which would have meant we'd have gotten all 3 Shadow Dragons released again, and yeah, that would have been amazing because that would have increased their numbers and made them a little less rare.
Oh no, you don't!
Sorry, no dragons allowed!
Now, Best of Original Dragon Ball is even more interesting. Since we look at the listings, we can see Little Goku, Krillin, Piccolo, Jackie Chun, Tien, and someone named Mr. Hercule. Guessing based on what Jakks released, Krillin is Kid Krillin, Jackie Chun is the full power Jackie Chun that we got, which means the Goku from that set would likely be the Goku here. Now, Tien did not get a release in Original Dragon Ball. However, if you look at their Bojack Unbound Tien and compare him to Original Dragon Ball Tien, all you'd have to do is paint the legs purple and it would fit in pretty well. So that's assuming that's what they would do. Piccolo is just Piccolo. He looks the same in everything, so just pick any of their Piccolos and re-release it there. No problem. Mr. Hercule, though, is weird. This character does not exist in Original Dragon Ball. In Dragon Ball Z, there's Mr. Satan, who was called Hercule when it got aired on kids TV, so I'm assuming that's what they meant. And Irwin did make a release of that character, but would Jakks re-release it? Possibly. It is really sad the Best of Dragon Ball line got cancelled, as it would have been a great way to get some of these harder to find figures out. But speaking of cancelled, I did notice there was also this wave of what appears to be Cell Saga figures. Now the first 5 are not interesting, just re-releases of a bunch of the figures they've already made before. But Perfect Cell is listed here, and that's interesting because Jakks did not make a Perfect Cell. Irwin did, and whenever Jakks needed a Perfect Cell, they always re-released the Irwin version. Like with these Budokai packs, for example, which come with CDs that I have no idea what's on them. But looking at Budokai 1, we got Cell Saga, Super Saiyan Gohan, and Perfect Cell from Irwin. So that's likely what this would have meant, but who knows, maybe they could have retooled their semi-perfect cell into a perfect cell for this. And with that, we've officially covered everything that Jakks Pacific has made. And yeah, this is an interesting line. Is it better than Irwin, though? That's the main question. It does have better articulation, far better, figure variety in terms of the series, and it does look pretty nice. But I think Irwin kills it overall, because they have better paint, far more unique sculpts, and female characters, including minor characters too, by the way. I like that they have so much character variety. But Jakks is still pretty good, and it's the end of an era. After this, Bandai reacquired the license and continues to have it to this day. This was the last time a different company had the license. It was also the last time we got the 5-inch scale figures, which were introduced with Super Battle Collection back in the 90s, and ended with Jakks Pacific, until Evolve came out, and that I also made a video about that you can check out, please. But yeah, with that all said and done, I really did like Jakks Pacific's Dragon Ball line. And if you like this video as much as Jakks likes to reuse parts, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. I'm always covering Dragon Ball on the channel. And if you'll excuse me, I have a big passion project I need to get out for December 18th. I'll see you guys then. Have a nice day.